You should already know what this recording's task is, so let's do that task. When I was in high school, I was in the marching band, of course. And there was a year, it was my junior year, I guess, my third year of high school. My high school decided to borrow, or steal, a field show that was an original composition for a different high school. And what I'm about to share might end up allowing you to Sherlock Holmes your way to figure out where I went to high school, which I guess is not fine, but not the worst. And anyway, the first movement of this field show was this mashup of the second movement of Beethoven's Seventh Symphony. So I'm going to listen to the staffer. The reason is because I'm trying to go for the Tsugumi and Sora hybrid. And so I'm going to pick pro Sora or Tsugumi choices as opposed to pro Coco choices. But I will, of course, drop a save at all the choices just so that it's easier to do some sort of depth search. I don't really need any of these anymore because I've already gotten the golden ending. So I'll just overwrite them.
まあ、気にならないこともないけど、後でな。
So it was amalgamation of the second movement of Beethoven's seventh symphony, as in like siete or ergo or whatever you want to, like whatever number seven, whatever allows you to recognize it as the number seven. The Andante, with Uninvited by Alanis Morissette, particularly the first stanza, and they left out the middle line. Now it goes off into like a bunch of other stuff in the further movements. It goes off to Prokofiev, and then I don't know what it does. I forget like everything that happens after the second movement because it's not very memorable. Everything past the first movement isn't very memorable. And the high school from which we stole the field show, or at least my band director stole the field show, they titled it something, but they wanted to come up with a new title for it. And they decided they're going to title the show Immortal Beloved. Which way did I do it when I got to Tsugumi? I think I hit... I don't know. Oh dear. I'm going to drop a save for this. And then... Should we be like up front? Or should we be like, let's not pin it on her? I think this is just, I think...
いや、なんでもない。ちょっとこけただけ。
I didn't know why they chose that at the time. I thought it was just something kind of cheesy. I figured out later that Beethoven started writing the Seventh Symphony in about 1812 and wrote it from 1812 to 1814. And it premiered somewhere around, I don't know, 1814. I could Google it. Gee, let's see here. Still running in the background? Yes, it is. Good. Did it premiere? Oh, 1813. So it was written between 1812 and 1813. I gotta do something on the game now. I would do apologize here. Well, first I do save, and then I do apologize. Um,
ごめん。
And around that time, someone discovered a love letter that I guess Beethoven wrote but never sent to its intended recipient, addressed to my immortal beloved. And kind of pairing that with the whole lyrics of Uninvited by Alanis Morissette, decide, oh, okay, well, we'll call this thing based solely on the first movement, Immortal Beloved. And I'll save here, even though it doesn't matter. Um, as far as I understand it, the second movement of Beethoven's Seventh Symphony, during its premiere, the crowd asked for an encore. Beethoven somehow made the most boring rhythm, almost the most boring rhythm imaginable, like that 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 2/4 time, into something that people would cheer and ask for an encore for. Of course, he just did that with the progression of chords. It's like gee whiz. Of course, Beethoven 5 is just like, it starts out with ba 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 ba, and the entire first movement is variations on ba 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 ba. So it is correct that after the first ba 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 ba, the rest of the first movement is filler. Anyway, so this right here, is this there right here, there might be there's about to be a Coco diversion. I don't know whether or not if I should do it or not. I think I probably shouldn't, because that prevents me from doing Tsugumi and Sora choices, so I might avoid those. That's not important right now. It's probably what I want to pick. Okay. Um, is the Coco choice? Uh, I'll just do it. Um, as long as I don't do the final Coco choice, I will avoid the Coco route, so I can. Um, I stepped forward and fell. I should have known, landing impressively. At least that was my intention. Wham! Ah! I struck my knee
大丈
painfully.
夫ですか？
Are you all right? I heard a voice from below. There we go. I did a previously unexplored path. So I might get a content anyway. So that's where that came from. I might get a content ID for this. In which case, because this would be a really stupid reason to get content ID'd, I would mute it in post. But if it's not muted, I'll do something goofy to hopefully make this a bit more entertaining, and try to sing the first stanza of Uninvited by Alanis Morissette. Just to, like, make this stupider. Like anyone would be, I am flattered by your fascination with me. And like a hot-blooded woman, I always needed something to crave. But you're not allowed. You're uninvited. Unfortunate slight. There you go. I would go for thanks for helping back there. You probably should go. Should go at it higher. Oh, think I thought it was something else. It's probably... I don't know. Huh. I'll do this. But you're not allowed. You're uninvited. It should probably be more up there. But whatever. You're not allowed. I'm just to be a goof. Of course, I'll expound on what I actually think of, like what they did with the character Tsugumi when I do like my Let's Play of Microsoft Word, as I'd like to call it at the end of this. It's not literally Microsoft Word that I use, but you know what I mean. Of course, the song doesn't fit at all because, of course, these girls, the girls go after the protagonist, not the other way around, because it's a harem game. Still is. Arguably even more so than Ever17, if that is even possible. Yep, exploring, and we learned that one of the extra people is Blinkwinkle. That's why there's an extra one. One of the extra ones. Now, the other extra one, I'm not quite sure what it's supposed to represent. It could potentially be, I don't think this one matters, so I won't save here. Chammy. Potentially. But the game isn't quite clear. Sometimes they try to imply that it's Sora, like might still get a number, but it goes in and out, and you can say, okay, Sora shows up as a life form when people are looking at her. When nobody is looking at Sora, and Blinkwinkle is merged in with whoever he's seeing the world through his point of view, then it goes down to 5. When Blinkwinkle splits off and Sora is visible, then it goes up to 7. I'll talk about that more too and try to kind of like postulate what they were trying to go for. They might have been actually not trying to go for anything. If they weren't trying to go for anything, then the answer is there is no answer. I don't like to, like, if is no answer is an answer that's valid. Yeah, these ones I don't save at because it doesn't matter. You have to go through all of them anyway. That's probably the famous line where Tsugumi says, "I guess I could die in a place like this." That's an important one to remember. And of course, she does it with the smirk sprite, which is also important. And lastly, see Coco having a conversation with Blinkwinkle. We don't understand it at the time. Because Coco can communicate with Blinkwinkle because she has quote-unquote ESP. I'm gonna save this choice, but I'm gonna say I am satisfied with the explanation because I don't think there's any reason to be unsatisfied. I don't see what that really does. I don't know if really that helps anything. It's like that's almost as if the player is supposed to like not get the explanation, but because this physics in here is all smudged up anyway, like it doesn't matter. This really tells me nothing about really how hard it is to swim up from, let's see, 17 times 3 is 51 meters from 51 meters underwater. Or 100, which is approximately 153 feet, but it's actually more than 153 feet because a meter is more than 3 feet. And you can calculate it exactly in my head if I really wanted to. by using that 1 centimeter is exactly 2.54 inches. I mean, you know what I meant. 1 inch is approximately 2.54 centimeters. Okay, I believe the right one here is actually, you don't say it's not your fault, you say, hey, everyone makes mistakes. It seems less nice, but Sora takes it better. Yeah, I have a feeling that somewhere in this game they mess up the numbers, and they say it's Drite stock is 103 feet deep. I'm gonna do with the Coco choice still. Um, 103 feet deep, but they probably were going for like one. But then later, Sora clarifies to 163 feet. And mistakes in the numbers might be one of the things that the Himmel patch bothers to go about fixing. So if you're like, what's the Himmel patch? Remember very back to the first episode when I talked about a patch. I'm gonna go where Tsugumi go on this. So that's gonna, because this is a time where the Coco choice makes it so it's not a Sora or Tsugumi choice. And because of that, it's bad. You shouldn't pick the Coco choice here. I would go for the Tsugumi choice because the ending, the Tsugumi Sora combo ending, sounds like it is more like the Tsugumi ending than the Sora ending, just from the golden ending. Or also known as the Coco ending. So you should kind of go hard Tsugumi most of the way. Oh, I have to, because it rewrites the whole scene. So, why are they? By the way, that whining sound in your ears, that's not your tinnitus. That's actually the game audio. I can see it on my monitor that that's the game audio because apparently the machine makes that noise and it's really annoying. Anyway, where the heck did Tsugumi go anyway? Just before the hatch was closed, she had suddenly started talking.
それじゃあ、私は行くから。
I'm leaving. Hey, where are you going?
急に行くところができたのよ。
There's a place I realized I need to go. Where? Treatment is more urgent than that.
必要ない。
I don't need it. Tsugumi, that's irresponsible and selfish.
こんな狭苦しい場所にいつまでもいられないわよ。
I can't stay cooped up in this cramped place.
ま、一人で逃げ出したりはしないから。安心したら。
Well, I won't go escaping alone, so just take it easy. That's not the point.
要するに、付き合いきれないの。あなたたちとは。
To be blunt, I don't have the patience for you, any of you. Tsugumi ignored you and me and went off somewhere. Sora had reported to us that she was somewhere on the floor and safe. But it still bothered me a bit. But it was Tsugumi after all. I was sure she'd probably be back in a little while saying something else. That was what I thought, but nearly 2 hours had passed. I'll wait just a little bit longer. Still waiting, my eyelids grew heavier and heavier. But still, even so, today really was an eventful day. With that, I fell asleep. I didn't save it that choice. Oops. That leaves one path unclicked. Anyway, there's a patch that tends to come from the same places where you can download this game. And you just extract it into the install folder for this game, and then you just replace all. You just like click if prompted. Would you like to replace this file with this one? Just hit replace, and then keep that setting for all of them. Now I'm gonna actually remember to save there. Now, I didn't apply that patch because I didn't know what it did, because I didn't read the patch notes. Because as I started looking at the patch notes to decide whether or not I wanted to apply this patch, I saw spoilers. And I immediately clicked out. But because there were spoilers in the patch notes, I didn't want to know any spoilers. I didn't read the patch notes. And so I don't know what the patch did. Because I didn't know what the patch did, I didn't trust it enough to apply it. And so I didn't apply the Himmel patch. Now, I do kind of understand somewhat of what it does. I think it does some typo fixing, and it might do an instantaneous skip. As you can see here, I cannot jump to the next decision. I can only fast forward. They might have added a jump in the Himmel patch. That would have been really convenient. I just didn't want to read the patch notes because I didn't want spoilers. So that's what the Himmel patch is, if you haven't heard of it. I'm going to go into more of this later. So this is a hard one because I'm trying to go for a combination. This one splits me between Tsugumi and Sora. But I think I still go Tsugumi here because that just in general is just a better decision. Sora doesn't need to eat, while Tsugumi does. So I'm going to go for this one. Especially because in the golden ending, you know. So that's a hard one because it splits them. Apparently, as I understand it, if you actually have the Japanese disc for this game, the Himmel patch will actually work in it, and it will translate it to English, kind of like a fan translation. So, if you buy the Japanese version of this game off eBay or Amazon through a third party, used or something, for like a lot of money, you might be able to use the Himmel patch to patch it into English. If you like having a physical disc. Now, I don't know for certain though, I just suspect that that's the case. But of course it was meant to be applied to the English version to fix typos. That was the idea. Because there is a lot of typos in this game. It's not riddled with typos so that it's unintelligible, but there is quite a few. Now, so yes, I knew about it. Obviously I'm going to help Tsugumi. Because look for Sora Force just makes you look stupid. Sora doesn't know you said that because Sora's offline, because Sora, the power's out. So there isn't any reason to choose that unless the game is like doing something illogical, which it might. Now, as far as I understand, the reason why I bring that up is if you want a physical copy of this game, obviously it's not being produced anymore. I forgot when it stopped being produced, but it was a long time ago. So this one, again, I think this one's counterintuitive, but I think you're actually supposed to try to escape, because that triggers the line, fine, I'll go with you all the way down to the bottom of the ocean if I have to. It gets you that line. That's why I think it's actually the right choice, despite being sort of negative towards Tsugumi. And it might be patchable using the Himmel patch. However, you have to go to those same websites that you would get the disk images for the English version in order to get the Himmel patch. Now, it's been stopped being produced a long time ago, and as far as I understand it, it seems like it was a lot easier to get a hold of the Japanese disc. I'll just say I know it, but I'll say first. Than it is to get the English one. And so that's why that's important. If you want the physical disc, the Himmel patch might work on it. I obviously am playing the original English, the official English localization made actually by Kid, or however they contracted out the localization for. This may be potentially the only game having like official quote unquote or like a commercial localization. Ever17 and Remember 11, the first and third games in the series, only have fan translations. I think it's going to be Air Pressure because that's the one she responds positively to. Although, it doesn't actually, the game, I've got to the main ending, the game still hasn't answered for me this question. I have some like theories, quote unquote, but it hasn't actually answered it. It was much easier to get the Japanese version, and so it made it really difficult to get a hold of this game and play it in English somewhere around 2011, 2012. It was impossible, essentially. So this game kind of got this dark age where you were really, really difficult to play it in English. Anyway. I was talking about which ones had localization. So, this one has an official localization, and I'm playing it right now. Ever17 didn't. It has fan translations, but it didn't have an original. And the fan translation for the original discs is broken at the moment, I believe. It makes it so the background music doesn't play. This is a way to fix that by mounting it or something. Remember 11 does also have a fan translation of it, but no official translation. 12 Riven, which is the fourth game, apparently has no localizations. And so, in order to play it, you need to learn Japanese. And Code 18, I haven't read anything about, so I don't know. If you're not familiar with Code 18, it's something that Cyberfront finished. That is supposed to be like a reboot, as far as I understand it, of Infinity, which is a series this game is in, but it wasn't, the scenario writer isn't Kotaro Uchikoshi. It's a bunch of people trying to imitate him. So it's supposed to be like his works, but isn't done by him. Now, I of course would want to try and play it, but I don't know if there's a localization. Anyway, so now that I've done saying which games have localizations, there was some like time period between somewhere around 2011-ish where this game was like impossible to play in English, at least with the official translation. And to play it, you could do it with like the Himmel patch. But you needed a Japanese disc still, and the Japanese disc they weren't in print. Now, somewhere around back in my day when I'm posting this, I believe this thing is still technically has a valid copyright on it in Japan.
空はね。
But no one cares anymore, and so it's hosted or various, like the disc images are hosted various websites on the internet in very like brazened, high-profile ways that come up in the first page of Google. You may not feel comfortable doing it downloading something from them, but it's not necessarily hard to get a hold of now, as it used to be. That may be why there might be not very many big Let's Players of these kinds of games, like Lukagen and Bijou Mike and like Andrew Wagenheim and whatever. I know Andrew probably wouldn't play this because it's such a pure visual novel. It's just way too pure. Whoever likes to do these things, they don't really do this game despite doing Zero Escape because it's like so out of production, and there was a time period where it was hard to get, and even still the background music is and has always been copyright material, and so if you play it with the background music on, most of your episodes of gameplay, potentially not all of them, it depends on how you mix it, will get claimed by mages. Now, going on to the Xbox remake. So there wasn't. So at the end of last episode, I said I'll research on my off time the Xbox remake. So I figured out that yes, the Xbox remake, unlike the I'll hit. So here on this one, I'm going to hit I'll pass because I'm trying to go Tsugumi mostly, but it is a hard one again because this one splits between Tsugumi and Sora. I think I'm in is going to be more pro Sora. That's what she wants to see. I'll pass is more like what Tsugumi wants to hear. And so it's kind of hard to balance it right here. Anyway. It does not have an English localization, even a fan one. In fact, I don't know how easy it is to fan patch in Xbox games. It may not be nearly as easy as patching PC games. So it's only Japanese. But I'd like to play it instead of like just looking up what's in it. And so I'm like, well, is there a way to play it, that is. What's the context of this one? Huh. I don't think this matters, actually. Okay. The only way to really play it and understand it is to learn the Japanese, because it's only in Japanese and there is no translation. And the only way to get it is by getting a physical Xbox disc. So I did something that's kind of like, well, I haven't learned Japanese yet. I mean, I'm eventually going to have to if I'm going to be able to understand 12 Riven, which I fully intend to be able to understand. I don't think this matters. I'll put up save for it anyway. So I'm going to have to try to learn Japanese anyway. So something being only in Japanese, well, what the hey? So this is Sora. Yeah, I want to do the Sora thing. I want to get that Sora stuff. So, especially because Tsugumi is not like part of it. So I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't really matter ultimately. The next thing is Xbox. Now, I figured out that probably only some Xbox games are forwards compatible, meaning only some of the Xbox 360 games can be played on Xbox One or an Xbox X or an Xbox S. So, but there are emulators for Xbox, and so I might be able to get to work on my PC, maybe. Getting things in other languages to work on your PC is kind of complicated. You have to make sure you unzip them when your non-Unicode language is set to that language, and make sure that stuff's in your path. That you have to install stuff where the buttons are in a different language, and getting a game to work in a different language on an emulator, I don't know how that's going to work. That might be really complicated. But anyway, I did sort of this thing like where you're drunk and you buy something and it's ridiculous. Except I wasn't drunk. If I were got drunk, that would make things even more ridiculous. Anyway, so perfectly sober, I decided to try to buy off Amazon used an Xbox disc for Ever17 in Japanese, from a third-party seller with absolutely horrible reviews. And the chances that I'll actually be able to actually get this disc and actually work if I get it are like very small. But I can get a refund through Amazon if it doesn't work, I expect. But it's kind of goofy that I took this ridiculous gamble on to actually try to get a hold of the Xbox disc, and then me being able to actually emulate it, and then me actually learning Japanese to be able to understand it, and then do a let's play of it. Do a let's play of a remake of the same game again. Again, I have to learn Japanese anyway to do 12 Riven, so that's not, but whatever. Where'd you go this morning? How do you do this one? I'm just gonna try to be nice. So anyway, that's where I'm going with the Xbox remake. Great. So, back to the if I know a lot of people are in the same boat as me, is they want to play games that are only in Japanese that don't have localizations, such as, for example, 12 Riven, and the Ever17 Xbox remake. I don't know of any other examples. I know things like trying to think of something that doesn't have a fan translation. Some of the Ace Attorney games weren't localized, but they all have fan translation because Ace Attorney is so popular. Look at the backlog here. Loosen them and then shut them again. So we loosen the first valve, right? First take the blue valve. After that, I want you to turn the red valve. And move the valves in the order I told you now. Blue, then red. Yeah, loosen them and then shut them. I'm supposed to loosen this. Okay, so... then I turn it counterclockwise, assuming that threads are right-handed in Japan. This one you do clockwise. It'll take a long time for me to learn Japanese, obviously. It'll take a couple of years, so it's going to be a long time in coming to get those non-localized content going. And right now I'm focused on, like, very hard on Korean, because that's what I started with, is trying to understand Korean enough to be able to kind of work my way through a Korean visual novel. Or a couple of them that don't have, where people have kind of started trying to make fan translations, but no one's ever finished or gotten even close. So right now I'm focused all on Korean right now, and very rarely actually try to do some Japanese. Right? Of course I've done like the first steps of studying the hiragana, and like the first steps of studying the kanji. Like I know a couple kanji, but that's about it. Like I'm not, I haven't done really anything as to actually trying to learn how to understand written Japanese. Like, been focused almost entirely on Korean. Once I get through with the Korean, I don't know of anything past those two games in Korean that I want to be able to understand, so then I'll move on to the Japanese and try to get that taken care of. It kind of helps to know Japanese for some of these games, even if they have localizations, because some things tend to get lost in translation, and if you understand how it would have worked in Japanese, then it sometimes helps to understand certain things. So this is the tricky part, but it's not really that tricky. So, whoops, don't overwrite that save. I would actually think the answer is go. And the reason is, in the Coco ending, in the true ending, Takeshi hears the spiel that Sora gives if he goes. That being said, this tends to suck you into the Sora ending, which I don't want to do. But if I'm going off of the Coco ending as a reference, then the answer to this is go. We'll see what that does. Okay, I'm gonna save on this, but because the clone law should come up at the true ending, so you should know about the clone law, and that's also like the blink winkle illusion. You see, like the Hagaraki, when he's acting like Takeshi, he acts out the other side of this conversation. You see as the kid, or Hokuto, or whatever his name is, the other side of Takeshi having this conversation about the clone law. That's another reason why it seems, and what that fake Takeshi Hagaraki is trying to do is imitate exactly what Takeshi did in the events leading up to his death from jumping out of the submarine, which would be the Tsugumi ending, and so, or the true ending, and so this has got to be in the true ending. It's got to be, which I presume is what the combined ending mirrors. Anyway, I'm going to say I know about the clone law, but it probably doesn't matter. A lot of choices that seem to not matter. Just like, you explain it or I explain it kind of choices. I don't see why I do a negative thing here. I would just to hear more. I don't see why we should pick a negative choice. So what am I supposed to know here? Yeah, I'm gonna say I do. I mean, I've done basically 100%. I've done like a completion of the game already, essentially. So of course I know. I want to hold off. I have to have things to say during this, but I want to hold off on too much of being a plot summary until like the recap. But I'll just say that I kind of understand why some people say this game is better than Zero Escape now. I mean, the story is better, unless you don't like stories revolving around the doing the deed in like at the linchpin. I would say climax, but the climax of it is really when Takeshi wakes up in the bottom of the ocean. That's the climax of the story, not the incident in the gondola. But if you wanted to make a pun, I guess you could call it the incident in the gondola. It's a stretch. Which makes it kind of like, well, it's just a story about that, essentially. There's a lot of, that's not that uncommon. I don't really mind that too much, but it's one of like, hey grandmother, you might like this game. So you're gonna go to see Tsugumi. And this is kind of like the moment of truth, meaning that we'll know if I succeeded or not probably at this point, because what I expect is that if you manage to get the goal, get the combined ending, then you get the long form of the response to this question. If you don't, you get the short form. So let's see if I manage to get the long form. If I don't, I'm probably just going to get funneled right into the Sora ending again, which is either that or, because I did a lot of Tsugumi choices leading in, the bad ending. So it's either going to be the Sora ending or the bad ending if I don't get the long form. So let's see what happens.
どうして謝るの？勘違いしないで。個々の身代わりになって傷を負ったわけじゃない。私はただ死にたかっただけ。なんで助けたりなんかしたの？あのままほっといてもらえれば死ねたのに。言ったでしょ。私は。
It's game over.
あなたにはわからないのよ。人生なんてこの世の中で。
Like when you get to the end of the game, you start to realize that Tsugumi doesn't even like really mean this. She doesn't actually want to die. It's just a very sophisticated form of being a tsundere. It's just really like deep, like I don't want to admit my vulnerability kind of thing. Because I'm like trying to hide that I'm really into you. Anyway, it looks like I've got the long form, so that's good. Yeah, like he didn't just storm out, so that means success. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm gonna go. I went to see Tsugumi because that seems like the correct. That's what you did. Now let's see if more Sora stuff, like see like kind of like how the Sora stuff ended up playing out. Now, it's hard to decide exactly how you do this because Sora and Tsugumi aren't watching. So I would do watch silently, but it's hard to tell that with that one. That one's a bit tricky. If it matters. It may not matter, but if it does, it's tricky. Like, none of the characters that you care about are there. It's like, all that matters is the you. Okay, Tsugumi is not there. You find her in the pipe room. I haven't bothered doing the work on trying to get a hold of a copy of Remember 11 yet. That might be hard. We'll see how that works out. As far as I understand, the general fan opinion is that Remember 11 is also really good. However, it's not quite as good as this game, but it's still really good. So if you like this game, you'll like Remember 11. And then the Wikipedia page for Ever17 throws a spoiler in there, which of course it's Wikipedia, so you expect it to have spoilers, but you wouldn't think if you read the article on the first game, it would spoil the third game. And that is that apparently Remember 11 has no romance elements in it. So, great. Now I know that. So I can't, guess that a romance is going to happen as an answer to a mystery, because I know that's not the answer, because I've been spoiled. It's also goofy as the Wikipedia page says that this is less romance. And it's true, this is somewhat less of a dating sim in that not all of the girls are the player character's love interests, in that Sora isn't. She's a sister. But Tsugumi is. And you literally go all the way with her. Sora is, even though she's a computer. And you cheat on Tsugumi with her, and it's really, weird. You might also be cheating on your girlfriend with Tsugumi as you cheat on. But anyway, Sora has no commitment. He's no prince. I mean, what's his face? Yeah, Takeshi is just a man. You don't know the bad words I would use. Use a love interest. Coco claims to be the player character's girlfriend and brother at the same and sister at the same time, which somehow I guess to Japanese people isn't a joke. To Americans, it kind of comes across as a joke. So I don't see how this is less of a romance plot than Never 7 is. I guess it's more raw and primal and physical in its way than Never 7 is. So it's less romance and more just straight up the F word. Anyway. I don't think this one matters, honestly. But I'm gonna push the button, because it's doing something as opposed to not doing something. So I don't know if Wikipedia was really right about that. So it might be that Wikipedia isn't right about there being no romance elements in Remember 11 at all. I know what the quale is. So this kind of going into what was Tsugumi doing when they were in the decompression chamber? Well, it turns out that the recompression chamber. Well, you would think that doesn't really matter. It's just that Tsugumi doesn't need to be recompressed because she isn't as susceptible to that kind of thing because of the phlebotism that is Cure. She doesn't have to be recompressed. And if you would want to be cooped up in that tight space as opposed to not, you would just choose not, right? So she didn't really go anywhere and do anything particularly special. But if she did, you would assume that it would probably be the jellyfish gondola because you know she's been in here before. Because when she was in here, she looked out and saw IBF down at the bottom of the sea. If you were to guess a place, but the game implies that it doesn't really matter. It's not important. So we have the long form of that. Now let's see if we get like the Sora scenes, which we may not get. Huh. And see if it matters. Because those weren't. Those weren't seemingly necessary in the Coco ending to mirror the Coco ending. Those like the Takeshi's love lessons. It looks like we just did plain flat didn't get them. I wonder if there's a way to get them. I'll save it this choice. Now, which one is this? Backlog. Whoops. Tsugumi had said a word to me all morning. Something's up, I can tell. Infirmary. Lastly, we talk to you. I wonder if I'm gonna be shut out because I didn't get the teaching Sora stuff. In which case, I would have to bias to do a little bit more pro Sora stuff, a little bit to kind of balance it out a little bit more. I still don't see why it would be a good idea to hit the kid. I don't know if like Tsugumi would like that or something. Okay, you go back into the gondola. Yeah, and then we get and the game doesn't explain what Tsugumi was doing. She was when she was 12, she got stuffed into the Lieblich lab, and then she was apparently in there for 8 years, if I remember correctly. But then she's 24 now, so there was 4 years afterwards. So I don't know if she's still like Lieblich kind of let her out a bit, and she works for Lieblich as like a maintenance person for Lemieux, or what, or whether or not she literally just escaped and she just sort of hides in Lemieux. Learn about Julia and her leukemia. This is where it seems to like it tries to make a more sci-fi and less fantasy explanation for Tom's healing ability, saying that Tom had the Cure virus and he was healing people by actually infecting them with the virus, where the virus like heals people, it like fixes Yu's heart condition, it makes Takeshi not drown and so on. However, Tom would have treated Julia's leukemia, which is a cancer. And it's a cancer of white blood cells, I believe. So it'd be like rewriting the DNA of her white blood cells to make it so that her white blood cells were better able to kill the cancerous white blood cells. I guess you could explain it that way, which got rid of the cancer. Because your immune system can attack cancer. That's one of the ways your body suppresses cancer. However, sometimes cancer figures out a way to get around that. Well, maybe that's a way Cure could treat cancer, given that Cure can also increase the risk of cancer as well, as explained in the game. But then why do we bother explaining this? It's fantasy. It just tries to like retcon the whole Tom Cure. Like it retcons Cure from Ever17, from being some sort of power to being a disease, which in turn makes the main plot of Ever17 not make sense because it's based off of Cure being a power as opposed to a disease. You have to like literally take it that Ever17 literally makes it such that the plot of Ever17 was all in Makoto's head and had no basis in reality within the universe these take place whatsoever. It's kind of like crushes the story of Ever17 in that way. This part's so long to carry. She gets sick, and they have to carry her to the infirmary, and they have a conversation in the infirmary, and they go down to IBF. This is the shortcut we learn about that we use later to save Tsugumi out of here, even though it's unclear why Tsugumi needs saved, but whatever. I don't know why she couldn't just swim out on her own. Maybe because she didn't know how far the water extended, but Sora could have told her, right? Sora knew where she was and could communicate with her. Says it's only 103 feet, like if you go out through the recompression chamber. I don't think this one matters. I'll go for the big gun characters and ignore you. And then we learn at the golden ending that who this person is actually Yoiki, and what he's doing is he's copying the files that contain Sora's memory to a disk. which makes the Sora ending really stupid. Because we go back to copy her, but she's already been copied and we just didn't know. It makes it just like all for naught and really dumb. Anyway. That's one of the hints that, even though it seems most likely at first that the researcher is Coco's dad, that he is actually Yu's dad is because he was worked on Sora. And Yu's dad was supposedly supposed to have worked on Sora. We got the Tsugumi stuff. We didn't get all of the Sora things though. I wonder what that's gonna. I wonder if that's good enough, or it might just funnel us right into the Tsugumi ending instead. I think I've gotten good enough to get the Tsugumi ending. Not sure about the combined. That's the problem. No, this looks Tsugumi. Looking very Tsugumi here. You have to have a conversation with you in the hallway. Nope. This looks wrong. Okay. Looks like we did. I didn't quite do it. Well, I gotta go try again, I guess. I'm still like letting this play out because I want to know. Like even if you're like 99%, if you're like 99% sure you haven't unlocked it, you still might have, even if you didn't realize it. But I'm pretty sure I didn't because I'm pretty sure in the combined it's going to mirror the Coco ending. And if that's the case, then you don't have your conversation entirely with Tsugumi in the hallway. You start with you and then you later transfer to Tsugumi. Yeah! Victory! I think I did it. Takeshi, it's okay. Sora smiled softly from the other side of the window. She succumbed to her eyebrows. She scrunched her eyebrows as if perplexed. Then slowly she shook her head from side to side.
私のことは大丈夫です。
I'll be
心配し
fine.
ないでください。
I'll be fine. Don't worry about me.
前に言いましたよね。
I told you before, didn't I?
ここに私はいません。
I'm not here.
しかし私はどこにでもいます。
And yet I am everywhere.
ここにいると同時にあそこにもいます。
I am here and at the same time there.
私は存在しません。
I do not exist.
しかし私は偏在しています。
And yet I exist
も
everywhere.
う一度必ず会える時が来ます。
There will come a time when we will meet again.
あなたが死んでしまったらもう二度と会えなくなるでしょ。
If you die, we will never be able to meet again.
だからお願いです。
So please,
今は何も聞かないでください。
please don't ask me anything now. Sora.
私を信じて。倉成
Believe
さん、
me. Believe me, Takeshi.
ありがとう。
Thank you. Her RSD image started to warp and break up. A fog enveloped Sora from behind. Sora's image changed to a rainbow hue. And then even the rainbow started to fade. Sora was disappearing. Watching this happen, I wondered where she really was. Would there really come a time when we would meet again? All I could do was trust her last words to me. That might be good enough. We'll see. I mean, that's what happened in the Coco ending, so that's a good sign. Even if the you thing didn't happen. Maybe it's just an inconsistency. This is like Tsugumi's like main CGs, like her poster CGs. If he didn't get this cure from the antibodies, he got it from biting her finger just like Chammy. Yeah, definitely foreshadowing that like some anime BS happens. Every time you see a yellow submarine or submersible, anything you would abbreviate sub in a Japanese origin visual novel, well, you know you're in for bad stuff. That just doesn't end well. Yes, you, it doesn't end well. And then Takeshi says, I'm not going to die, as he proceeds to do something that guarantees his death. And somehow is right by means of actions of people other than him. You like read this and go, what do you mean you're not gonna die? What are you gonna do? Not jump out? And then he just jumps out and dies, and you're like, what? And then it's implied that the one life form left is Blinkwinkle. You know, you go through this, you think it might be Sora, but it's Blinkwinkle. Ein Glashit sets off. 1st of May, 2034, Fort. Baby's crying. Okay. Did it. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little critique here of the game. So there was a little bit extra something something in. Oh, it's the epilogue. In that, as opposed to the just like the regular Tsugumi ending, you get Sora predicting that she will meet Takeshi again, because remember, he have been copied by Yoichi, and then Deliver came down to IBF with Yoichi and then placed in the mouth of Pee-Pee. You don't get that. You don't get that Sora's reassurance if the pure Tsugumi ending. And you also get the epilogue where it says the year 2034, which is a hint that the kids' routes happen in 2034. That being said, there's a lot of hints in the kids' routes that they happen in 2034, particularly Yu's mom dying 15 years ago, and the records in Les Mis saying that her dad died 34 years ago as opposed to 17 years ago like she thought. Meaning that when you hear that, you immediately interpret that as we're 17 years farther in the future than we think. So it's like that hint is kind of like excessive hinting. It would be nice. It would probably be best if this was kind of not, well, but it's an epilogue. It's like a special, I don't know. I was gonna say, okay, if this was called Good End, maybe I was expecting this to be called Good End. In which case, yeah, I'd say that's redundant because that Tsugumi also looks like you can get it on the Sora side too. That's interesting. It's kind of extra, and it can really just be wrapped into the normal Tsugumi version. We don't actually need it, but anyway. I did it. I got the epilogue. It claims to not really be a whole nother ending. It just claims to be an epilogue. So I guess Maybe it should be called Tsugumi epilogue as opposed to Tsugumi Sora version epilogue. That would be less confusing. So then, did that give me the last scene? Oh, Geschliket. Sounds like the epilogue. Okay, with that like couple second long epilogue of Coco at the Himmeldor. Psst. Okay. Although I will put that into Google Translate though. Let's figure out what that German word means. Like, how do you pronounce that? Guess it looks like okay. If you're like an English speaker and you were to see something spelled like that, if you were to spell it like we English people would pronounce that, you would say Gestchte or Gestchte. However, Germans pronounces their CHs and their SCHs differently than us English speakers pronounce them. So it's probably not Gestchte. It's probably something different. But, okay. Gestchte. Story. Oh, it just means story. Cool. That's lame. Okay. Or history or history. And that checks off not only all the endings, but also all of the scenes. And so we still have I still have a few paths undone. And that path would be like certain, like unhighlighted choices. And we saw several of those on this episode I did just now. We saw some paths I didn't take. There's 8 of those. I'm not really concerned. I kind of know where all those are, I believe, and all of those, and it doesn't matter. But because I haven't done absolutely all the paths, my percentage complete is still staying 113 out of 114, which is kind of annoying. So, I don't know. I'm going to make a decision right here, right now. I think it doesn't matter because those paths I didn't get, they don't add more content. They're not content. They're just repeating what I've already read. Just maybe in scenes for which we've substituted in the Coco route stuff, so the paths reset and such and such. So I don't know if that's important. Unless the last screensaver did not get unlocked, and then I'll have to go through and get all the paths. Let me see if it is. Oh, I'm not screensaver. What do I mean? The last one of these. Nope, it didn't. It's still hidden. Up, Fooey. Up, I have to, okay, up. That means I have to go back and get all the paths, don't I? Either all the paths or there's a special scene. However, I think that would be a CG, not a wallpaper. Yeah, this not unlocking means I need to get all the paths. That's probably how I'd unlock that one. Phooey. Okay, then. This shouldn't be too long. Let me see if I can get... I go to load. Here.
私の責任です。
Okay, so it's not... I'm trying to find undone pass. That's not important right now. Okay. I think I got all the paths in the Coco. Okay. There's a lot of skipping. I know there's like some saves where I forgot to save. Choices where I forgot to save, that's my problem. That's why I'm skipping all this again. Um, Wow, I forgot how long it was between these choices, but like after the Coco stuff. Really long. This doesn't matter. I would just go to the next choice using the load, but I don't remember like what I loaded. Like I don't remember what choice comes next after these. Okay, so I think I'm good up to this point. Okay, so still good. Here's one of them. I wonder where Sora intended to sleep. This simple doubt jumped into my mind. She was doing minute, complex work nonstop, but she was always on her feet. Maybe she never got tired. When I spoke with her over the intercom, this is a copy of when you. Okay. Save that somewhere. Okay, so then they're going to go return to the title. And then I'm going to. Yeah, now that's one of them. I have 7 more to go till you get all the pass. Oh dear. Most of them are probably like, as the kid. How am I gonna find these 7 pass? I think I'll do this. Okay, this is what I'll do. I'll do that off recording. I know it's kind of something that I don't like to do because I want to see everything that's on here. Like everything I do would be on recording just because that's what it's supposed to be. But like finding 7 paths that weren't done, that's just so boring. I'm not going to record that, I think. And then when we get to the like last episode, I'll show all the paths done and see what the last poster is. Yeah. I'll just end this one here, and then I'll figure out how to get those remaining 7 paths off recording. But some of those paths, you can see what I mean, right? That path that I didn't do, that's exactly the same as if you click that, if you weren't in that whole Coco thing. It's just that because you had the scene replaced with the Coco version, where you had that option of doubting whether or not what she was sick with was decompression sickness, then those 2 choices that you could make were where is Tsugumi or where is Sora going to sleep become new paths, even though they aren't actually new dialogue, and that adds to the path count. So like you end up, in order to get all the paths, you have to click click things like that are just kind of silly, right? Anyway, so that's the idea. You do what I just did there, and you just keep doing that until you find all the paths you didn't hit, essentially. Cool. I'm pretty, yeah, I'm out.